Hello, welcome to the Dimp Digital Podcast. We're on episode number 29, and this time you've got myself, Apps, and Tom Adkins, who is making his debut on the podcast. Tom, how you doing?
Yeah, bad, mate. Cheers.
Excellent. Now, we know that you've already contributed to the YouTube channel. We done a Let's Talk episode earlier on in the year, but you haven't actually done a full-blown podcast before. And as always, with newbies, I like to just sort of start off by going through what systems you own currently and also what your gaming preferences are. So if you don't mind just taking us away of what systems you're currently playing.
Yeah, sure, no problem. My main bulk of gaming's done on my PC.
Yeah.
I've just joined the Master Race.
The Master Race. Now, how long have you had that PC for? Because
I bought it, I think it was June last year.
Oh, really? So it's quite recent investment, isn't
it?
Yeah. Had you had a PC before that, or was this the first sort of main venture into like a gaming rig? Because I think we've all had PCs before, but they weren't always suited to play games on.
Yeah, I used to have a PC, but it was one of the ones where you playing the graphics through the motherboard.
yeah, bag of shit.
Yeah, but it wasn't last year. Actually, it was the year before that. So I've been PC game for 2 years. Sorry.
Okay, cool. What sort of turned you down that road then? Because you've obviously been a console gamer before that. Was there anything specific? Was it just reading internet forums and comments, just thinking I fancy a go of having this Master Race business?
Well, the biggest thing was the price of the game. Seeing like things on Steam, like paying for a £40 game on console, you get them for like £4 or £5 on Steam.
Sure, yeah.
Once that brand new, but yeah, that was a big factor. Joining the 60 FPS game.
Yeah, you like that? Dave Sammy was on a couple of weeks ago. He likes to be part of that frames per second gang as well.
Yeah, but yeah, I think most of them and the PC. Yeah, that's the reason why I wanted to join it.
Yeah,
the two main factors.
So going back onto price, do you think overall you've saved money on the games you've bought? Because normally when you get a game rig, the outlay initially and to keep upgrading it every couple of years often is expensive. So do you think in the long term you have saved, or do you think it's about even, or maybe you spent slightly more?
I reckon I paid £750 for my rig.
Right.
And next gen console is you're looking about 300, and now.
Yeah, 300, 350, yeah, but most of 300, aren't they? Seem to have both come down a little bit. And
so I've been, like I said, I've had it for about 2 years now, and when newer games that are coming out, I'm paying about £15 to £20 a game. So each time I'm buying a new game, I'm saving about £20, £25 sometimes on these. So I reckon I've made a bit of money. I've made some money.
Made some money back on it.
Yeah. So I think in the long run it works out cheaper than having a console. But again, which I'm just starting to notice, and we'll touch upon in a bit.
Yeah.
Is time to be upgraded. So it's another big whack.
It's time for some more money to be invested. So you've not just got the PC gaming rig though, have you? You've also got, correct me if I'm wrong, PlayStation 4 as well.
That's right, yeah, that's what I bought last year, not the PC. I bought the PS4 exclusively for the Metal Gear Solid franchise, only for a month later. We announced both on PC.
Yeah.
So, but no, I do. Before, when I first bought the PC, I pretty much I had a 360. I still have a 360, but I only play exclusives on it. So my PS4 is pretty much for exclusive games now.
Okay. What's some of your favourite exclusives from both Microsoft and Sony? Have you got a few favourites?
My favourite. I was a fan of the Gears of War franchise. And started going down here towards the end. I didn't even actually bother with that Judgment game.
Ah, crap, mate. You saved yourself 8 to 10 hours of your life.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But PlayStation, I prefer PlayStation exclusives. If I'm going to choose between the two, I'm a massive fan of Uncharted.
Yeah.
Big fan of Last of Us.
Yeah.
Killzone's a bit meh.
Yeah.
I'm just looking for
God of War. I know a lot of people like God of War. I've never really got into God of War myself, but I know that's quite a big.
I really like hack and slash games. Yeah, God of War is a big one. I'm thinking which is on Microsoft.
Yeah, well, so it's big ones. Sort of, I think Halo. That's a massive
Halo,
one.
Yeah.
That seems to be the go-to one.
Yeah, that's the only reason I'll probably buy a Xbox One. I'm waiting for that and that Quantum Break. There's nothing really to grab me by the ghoulies.
Yeah, no, yeah. That's at the moment. There's not been a great deal in where Titanfall, but obviously you had a PC, so I remember you saying you had that on the PC, so you was playing it on that anyway. So it's
my preference game as well is it's sort of a third person open world game, story based driven with campaign. I'm not really a big competitive gamer. I don't play online much.
No.
So like games like I bought Titanfall, played it for about a week and got bored.
Yeah. It's one of those ones where you have to be with other people. I think
Yeah.
you get the most out of it. I'm in the same boat. I'll play a multiplayer game if there's a group of people playing it.
Yeah.
If it looks interesting, but generally I'm steered more towards a single player game. You mentioned open world there. I mean, obviously something like Uncharted that you're a big fan. That's quite linear, and so is The Last of Us.
It is. It is actually thinking of that.
So is it more the story that draws you in there, or is it just the gameplay of those particular ones?
With those type of games, it's more the story. I do love the set pieces as well.
Which you don't get in open world games generally, do you? You don't tend to get those big set pieces.
No, GTA had it with a few of the missions, the newer GTA, which I enjoyed. But yeah, no, you do get them sort of action set pieces in games like Uncharted. But yeah, you're right.
They do really well, don't they? Just quickly, I mean, you're a fan of Uncharted. Now, Tomb Raider looks like it's going to be a timed exclusive. The new Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, this fall is coming out. Are you a big fan? I mean, a lot of people were big fans back in the day, and they kind of got a little bit saturated and poor. But then I feel like the last Tomb Raider, the reboot, kind of revitalised the franchise, and everyone's excited again. And looks like it's only going to be on the Xbox One for a little while at least. Would that tempt you to go over and perhaps purchase one of them?
It very would, yeah. I mean, I was a big fan of the newest Tomb Raider because it was like Uncharted. They leaf out the Uncharted book.
Definitely, yeah.
And made that, but yeah, I was a fan back in the day playing the first game, trying to get her naked in the mansion.
I think everyone tried that, and it never existed. If mods were actually around back then, you'd have easily got that, but there was no mods knocking around for that particular activity.
And the second game, I think the best thing about that game was locking the butler in the fridge.
Yeah. I think every human being had the second one just to do that, just lock him in there. Never froze over and died, but it was always fun to do, to trick him to go in there, because he used to follow you around like a bit of a creepy pervert. And I was like, right, you're gonna get your comeuppance here, Mr. Butler. You're gonna get stuck in the freezer, and that's gonna teach you a lesson. Right, let's crack on to some of the parts that we've got already sort of pre-organised now. I mentioned that you'd come on an episode of Let's Talk a few months ago, and you were discussing a early access game called Stranded Deep.
Cannot be survived.
You cannot be survived, in your famous words. Now, I guess the question is, can you be survived? Is it how is the game? It's a first-person survival game. You're stuck on a cluster of deserted islands, I'd say. What's your report back on this? Did the intention to play it drop off a little bit, or have you been constantly playing?
Yeah, I haven't gone back to it much. It's sort of I follow on Steam. You can follow the news feeds, so every time they update, it comes up on your sort of wall of what's been updated. So I've been keeping a little look over it. There's nothing massive that they've added really.
Really? Okay.
They've fixed things like bugs and improved things like sounds and adding little tiny bits to the UI, but nothing that's going to pull anyone in, I don't think, just yet.
No, nothing substantial.
No. They have released, they're doing like a new experimental build that I'm just reading about.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they're trying to make it more of a sort of finished game. I think they're sort of realising that it's been out for a little while now and it's still early access.
Well, yeah, I remember you saying one of the points was that they'd mentioned they want the game finished by the end of this year, I believe. Yeah. They want it out of early access and a done product. Can you see him hitting that target, or do you think they've kind of looked at the task ahead of them and gone, right, this might not happen?
No, I think that's what this new build is for. Apparently it's got some new like rendering engine in it or something. I'm not too sure on that, but I had a little go yesterday. You had to opt into it to have a go, so I did that.
Did that overwrite your sort of game that you would had installed, or was it alongside it so you could play either or the builds?
Installed like an update. I don't seem to be able to have access to the old version, but I think I can just opt out of that and go back. But there wasn't a big difference at all. It's obviously a little few visual tweaks.
Yeah.
But one of them, it did have like a mode. It was like a survival mode. It was essentially just see how many days you could survive.
Right, I see.
So I think it was just there'd be like a leaderboard online, and that'll be the aim of the game for now. So it looks like they're trying to make a sort of finished article, but there's not enough to pull people in. I think like you say, I think they've realised that it's a bit of a bigger task than they anticipated.
Yeah, because I don't remember you saying, was it just 2 guys that were doing it?
That's right, yeah.
2 guys in Brisbane, Australia, trying to get this out the door. And
Brisbane, apparently, I've been corrected by a friend. Yeah, Brisbane, not Brisbane.
Wow. I'll stand corrected then on that particular issue. I mean, what's your feeling? So you get a vibe, don't you, when you're playing these type of games? Is your vibe that this is going to go on and be a success, or even maybe not a success, but still a good game that's overlooked, or is it going to be a bit of a bad game, a bit of a blunder?
I think they will pull through and turn it into a decent game, but I can't see that in the end of this year at all. I think they've got a big task ahead of them. They need to start implementing an end for the game, really. I know it's just sort of sort of have your like a Minecraft, you do what you want. But I think when I went in yesterday and started playing it, and that mode came up about see how long you can survive, that sort of thing, having a leaderboard and a bit of challenge, I think that could steer people in.
Yeah, maybe that'll suck them in some sort of competitive nature. Because if you're just surviving on your own, then there's nothing to compare it against, or there's no way of tracking it. Then when you die, you think, what was all that for? What was the aim of that? I mean,
multiplayer would be a big plus from, I think, because when you're playing it, you can get bored after it. There's, like I said, there's not much to do now.
No,
but
is there any plans for multiplayer? Or have they not mentioned multiplayer?
They haven't mentioned it. No, not that I've read. Which they should definitely look into that.
Yeah, it's probably going to take them 2 years though. But it's the trouble I find with early access games is that when it first kicks off, it's all everyone's interested. They're always on it, updating things, and then as the developers realise that it's a more difficult task, and also as money starts to run out, probably they think, right, can we even get this out the door in the state that we first envisioned and what we wanted? Where do you stand on Kickstarters in general? Are you a fan of opting into these things? Because I mean, Mr. Piper's a big fan of it. He likes to support the developers, but I'm kind of in the middle. But I don't like this situation where you're waiting years. Sometimes you're waiting a long time, and sometimes you do not even get the finished game. I've seen stuff pulled. And
no, that's true. Yeah, no, they don't get their money back either, do they?
No, you can't. No. So, is this something that you think you'd implore other gamers to do, or pick and choose, or just stay away from completely? Would you rather just go back to once it's on the disc, it's ready, and that's it, none of this early access?
I do like the idea of that, and it's on the disc, it's ready. But feeling for these small developers that obviously don't have any cash.
No.
Go and get themselves a proper job.
Yeah.
No, I do like the Kickstarter idea, helping small developers out like that. But as the buyer, you like you say, you're not really getting anything for your money worth. It's quite fun watching it grow, but not for 3 years, and you don't get nothing in return.
Yeah, what you find is that a really good idea comes through Kickstarter, or comes through early access in particular, and it doesn't quite get seen through to its potential. But then it sits there in 3 years of early access. Other games come along, look at the ideas they've done, take bits from it, put it in their game, and get things out the door quicker, and try and sort of steal into that particular thing, because there are so many first-person survival games on Steam in early access. There is an absolute minefield full of them, and
HZZ one or something.
Yes, that's the Sony one, isn't it? They were doing. There's also 7 Days to Die, Rust, DayZ. I got conned into buying the War Z back in the day.
That was an absolute stinker, wasn't it?
Abomination, mate.
There wasn't. A new game I was looking into as well, it was very similar to this Stranded Deep, was Subnautica.
Christ.
An underwater survival crafting game that looks very... We'll have to have a little look at that in the future. But again, it's just, like you said, they've just taken ideas from this, and they've got their own early access on the go, and trying to beat
How many early access can you start spinning plates if you start getting them all on Steam, because you can't keep up with them all. But I suppose, like you said, I mean, a lot of these games wouldn't even see the light of day without these systems in place. So at the end of the day, as I said plenty of times before, it's people's money. If you want to invest in these things, it's up to you what you do. Going out and doing it. So I've got no problem with that if you want to support. Or if you want to even buy something like the War Z, even though it was awful that I did, I was quite naive and got kind of tricked into it, caught up in the hype of DayZ. And this War Z come along, it was the promise that it was going to come out before DayZ, so I jumped on that bandwagon, and it was a terrible bit of business. Probably the worst thing I've ever bought. It was only £9 though, because I bought it in early access. So that's another sort of plus, isn't it? You don't pay as much for the full game. Something like Kerbal Space Program, I remember I could have picked that up for a tenner before it went to full release. Now I think it's in the £25-30 range, and I was thinking, well, if I just committed a bit earlier, you'd have saved yourself a bit of dollar.
That is a benefit for early access games. Be interested to see if any of the next gen consoles bring in. It would be quite hard to do.
Yeah, I mean that's something that you might see, but it seems like it's near impossible to get anything through the Sony store or the Xbox store, because there's so many red tape and testing that has to go through, and if it's not in a state where it's, you know, they see fit and gets their seal of approval, it's not going on. Maybe they'll relax their rules and we'll see some of these things, but I don't know. Also, I just correct myself there. I said a little bit of dollar, which I bollocked the other two for saying the other week. I said don't talk in dollars, talking sterling, so I've just dropped myself.
We want pounds.
Yeah, we want pounds. That's what we want. Speaking of the amount of pounds that we've been spending, a lot of people I know have gone out and bought The Witcher 3.
Oh, what a game.
Yeah, we've both got it. We're both playing it. Just before we get into the actual game itself, there's something that it would be stupid not to address. And this is that there's been a lot of complaints, especially from the PC crowd, because it's to do with the graphics of the game. So around the snobs, the PC snobs. That 2 years ago there was a VGX tray that was released, and essentially the long and short of it, without rattling on too much, is that the game looked better in that CG in that trailer than it does now. It wasn't a CGI trailer, it was a gameplay trailer, and now that even when guys have got it back home on their PCs, on their monster rigs, putting it up to Ultra, it does not look as good as the trailer that was showed 2 years ago. And what people say is, I pre-ordered it on the pretense it was going to look like that. What I'd say to that is, first of all, you're an idiot if you order anything just on one trailer. What are you thinking? That is absolutely a bizarre way to do it. But essentially, what's come out of it, and reading an interview on Eurogamer, it got to the long and short of it that the reason why it's been tapered back a little bit is so that there wasn't as big a gap between the PCs and the consoles. Now, I mentioned this very fact 2 weeks ago with Dave when we was talking about PC gaming versus console, and I said this is the exact point I made, is that because of the money involved, the consoles will always drive the gameplay advances, and in this case, even the graphical advances. Because I imagine if they had a free reign on a top rig PC, they could have done a lot more of this. As an invested PC gamer, does that annoy you slightly that you may be getting an experience that's been toned down a little bit to cater for these peasants that are buying the consoles?
A little bit, yeah. Especially with The Witcher, as it is. It was renowned as a PC game.
Yes, the first two. Yes, that's a good point.
CD Projekt Red, they're like a PC gaming company, but obviously the industry has changed, isn't it? It's very money driven now, and the money is where the consoles are. Yeah. So you have to look at it from both sides, really. But it's annoying as a PC gamer, even though my rig cannot handle
Ultra
max. Yeah, absolute beast that game. But yeah, it does impair the sort of graphical side of the things. But like I say, it's got to go on the consoles, and it needs to be downgraded for them. So us master race will have to suffer. But
let's not get it wrong. On Ultra, I've seen it running. It still looks fucking amazing. Let's not get it really wrong.
They've even made a mod already. There's like a VGX mod to try and make it look a bit like it. They're already on the case.
Yeah, that's the good thing, is it? That'll be modded, and that'll look like the VGX trailer one day. Don't you worry about that.
Like the old Watch Dogs, they did that with that, didn't they?
Exactly. They bumped that up and showed Ubisoft how it could have been done. More essentially, the interview that I've read, they said that point, that if the consoles weren't involved, then there's no Witcher 3. That's an exact quote from the co-founder of it. They couldn't afford to make the games it was. Having the consoles on board allowed them to, get more sales in the end. There's a bigger margin there for them, and there's probably less piracy. It's not beat around the bush. There's quite a bit of piracy on the PC.
I think I did read an article with one of the main developers just saying, look, if you want to pirate it, have a go. He just as long as you're playing our game. Yeah, he was keen for it. Yeah, have a go.
Yeah, no. Obviously, it's harder to do on the console, so you're paying top whack for all your games, and essentially they're saying we wouldn't have been able to afford to do it had we not got them on board. So it makes sense, but it's not the best thing to be doing, because everyone bollocked Ubisoft with Watch Dogs for the way that looked, because it looked incredible at that E3 review, but when the final game came out, it did not look like that, and it ran like a bit of a pig, I've heard, on some. On some PC, which is even worse, really.
See it on the website the other day for £1.29.
Really?
£1.29. Jesus.
It's worth £1.29. It's actually not a bad game, I don't think. I thought it was decent. It just didn't live up to that massive, ridiculous hype train that we'd all set up, and that was due to the trailer looking so good. So
it was. Yeah. I remember I bought a game years ago, Prototype, and that was. I bought that from watching one of the CGI trailers. That got me so hyped. That was the biggest letdown I've ever had in my life.
That was. I remember because that was on the Xbox, wasn't it? The Prototype, and I remember PlayStation. I didn't have a PlayStation 3 at the time. Had Infamous and Infamous 2, and it almost seemed like Prototype was a stab at that, but you could also get it on Xbox, and I was like, I hope this is really good and it beats Infamous, because I know I haven't got a PlayStation, I can't play it, and it turns out that Infamous was 10 times better, and I was left with my head in my hands going, bloody hell, why didn't I get a PlayStation at the time? But I mean, the graphic side of the Witcher, it's not the. I don't want to. You don't want to be seeing that sort of become the norm, but
no, I've got a bad feeling about that Division as well, and again another Ubisoft. But that looks so good in the trailers. I can see that being a bit of a downgrade as well. But like you say, let's hope that doesn't happen in the future, because it's not good. No.
Let's talk about the game itself then. Let's keep it spoiler free. So let's talk generally about the game and the gameplay. Nothing story specific or any events that take place. How are you finding it generally? Do you know how many hours you've put in? Because it does track your hours on your profile. Do you know roughly how many you've put in?
I think I'm on about 11 or 12 so far. But
1 day, 3 hours. Last time I checked, so sort of.
Really?
Yeah, I've killed it.
You've absolutely smashed it, haven't you? I haven't done hardly any of the main story at all.
No,
I've just been doing side quests, just sort of exploring. Now
you talk about the side quests. That's something that I wanted to mention, because the side quests, I just love the amount of effort they've put into just the dialogue and backstory of each quest. Normally when you get these games, I remember I played Dragon Age obviously a few weeks back, and the review's gone up and whatnot, but they had lots and lots of quests. They had loads of quests. You could do as many as you wanted. I haven't done them all. I didn't do them all, but a lot of them were just you picked up a note that directed you towards an area where you picked up a chest. There's no real effort put in. I was like, that's I'm not really engaged with what's going on. What I've noticed with The Witcher is that pretty much every single side quest has a little cutscene or dialogue with the person, gives you the backstory, and it makes it feel like a bigger deal. And they're not just normally go and get something and come back. There's a couple like that, but a lot of them sort of expand, and they can take up to 40, 45 minutes. Some of them I've got snarled up in some right bizarre situations, just going off and doing these side quests, and it gives you a bit more of a human attachment and purpose behind them, and it actually makes you kind of care about the side quests. And I find them at the moment more interesting than the main game.
Yeah, I'm totally with you there. No, it is insane the extent of what they do with the side quests compared to even games like Skyrim and stuff. I mean, it's vast. There's so much stuff to do. There's side quests, and you also have like the contracts. Then you have like treasure hunt.
Sure,
there is so much to do. But the amount of input they put to that, rather than just sort of having it as a sort of game filler, if you will. Yeah,
they have got filler in there. Say something, the monster nest and the bandit camps. That stuff's in there, and you can go off and clean them off the map and pick them off. But usually, that's what the side quests are. In most of these other games, they normally just sort of throw away items. But these are genuine mini stories that you're going out and completing. I just love it. I love just going around, finding these little exclamation marks. And I found as the game goes on, you'll do one side quest, and then later on maybe a character or a situation will pop up and refer back to it. So it kind of keeps a nice sort of thread all the way through the game that I've been playing so far. How you said you was going off exploring, so obviously moving around and whatnot. Now, I find Roach the horse an absolute pig to try and move around on. I don't know if you have the same experience.
I compare it a lot to Red Dead Redemption. But the old horses in there, but I can see what you mean. Sort of with the terrain and stuff, it does sort of bump into things at the edge of cliffs. Yeah, he doesn't jump things. Yeah, he is a bit.
He's a lazy bastard, actually, Tom. I'll tell you that much. He's a lazy bastard because I'll double click the left stick to whistle him, and he's got no urgency. He'll appear on the map and walk over. I have to go and get him. I don't know if I need to upgrade the bastard, but.
Yeah, you can actually. I don't think you can actually. You can add stuff to it, can't you? Like saddlebags.
That's it. Armour, and you can put blinkers on him to increase his fear level and whatnot. Combat. So I've got the game on Blood and Bones, which is the second from top difficulty level, and I am finding it bloody difficult. Like the first, honestly, I'm not even joking. The first 15 hours or so, I was really struggling. It took me a long time, and even now with some beasts or some just the drowners that you come across, level 4 drowners. I got knocked off my horse the other day. I'm a level 10 now. Level 4 drowners knocked me off 4 of them on the horse. He bucked me off. They wiped me out in under a minute. I was shocked at how difficult it is. How are you finding the combat? Because it's not. It's quite unique. It's a bit of it's not quite hack and slash, but there's a lot of countering. I find that you've got to be quite reserved. You can't just go steaming in. You can't on Blood and Bones anyway. I don't know what it's like on Sword and Shield difficulty.
It is a bit more user friendly on the lower settings. But what with Witcher 2 as well, it was always that type of game. You couldn't just sort of run in and hack and slash. You always had to sort of prepare yourself for fights.
That's it. Yeah.
This sort of game, you do have to sort of prepare yourself, and you sort of have to learn a bit of skill really with how sort of countering in and parrying, dodging, that sort of thing, and that's that implementing that into your sort of strategy of your combat.
You've got to use all your tools as well, haven't you? You've got obviously magical signs, which are quick sort of spells you can cast, so you can throw fire at people. It's got a telekinetic blast. There's a shield that you can put on. Then there's different kind of oils that you can put on your sword they'll affect certain enemies. So if you're getting like a spirit, there's a certain oil you can apply to your sword to increase your damage on them. And I find that you have to use all your tools to survive in this. Just steaming in and going in with your sword, trying to be aggressive. You get put down pretty quickly.
Not going to happen, is it? No. It's the lore of the game as well. Like you say, you have a certain enemy, and you can read upon what they actually what's their weaknesses.
That's it.
What sort of potions and spells they don't like to help your game. But it's just the extent of the lore in that game is unbelievable.
What I find interesting is that there is a lot of lore in there, and a lot of backstory. But you know what I hate? One of the things I didn't like about Dragon Age was that there's a codex system in there, and the amount of clutter and shit in there that you wouldn't want to read about probably. Well, some people will. They love to read everything. Fine. Me, I like to read the main bits and read the highlights, and I'd like to try and read. If I had my way, I'd read it all, but I didn't find it all interesting, so I stopped.
Play a game. I don't want to read.
Yeah, no. I don't know why it's BioWare. I don't know why. Just a side note, why they haven't got the narrated stuff like Mass Effect.
Effect. Oh, that was bloody handy. Yeah, you could just play.
Just sit and listen to it. I didn't mind sitting and listening. But what I'm finding in The Witcher is talking about their particular codex or glossary, as they call it, is it's not cluttered, is it? It's not crap. It's the main points and your quests. I like reading about your quests after you completed them. It gives you like a little story about that, and it doesn't fill up. And because I'd look back at like doing an hour's worth of gameplay on Dragon Age, look in my codex, and there'd be 50 items in there, and I'd be like, bloody hell, I can't read through all that. Whereas this, you'll get 1 or 2, and then I feel like I've sort of almost reached the max already. Maybe there's going to be more, but a lot of it's actually interesting stuff to read about, and it gives you what you need to know about the backstory of the politics and what's going on in the background.
That's right. Yeah, they've really cleaned it up since number 2.
Was that a bit of a mess then? Was it?
It was a big mess. Yeah, like you say, it was cluttered. They didn't have any sort of system to it, but the whole with the same sort of UI and all the sort of menu system, they really have cleaned it up and made it more user friendly.
Sure,
done a sterling job.
I was going to ask you actually how it actually compared to The Witcher 2 because you played through it a couple of weeks ago, didn't you?
I did a couple of weeks, yeah.
In preparation for this release, she was like, I want to get up to speed. Yeah. I'm going to go and power it.
I think I bought it like the first week. I switched over to the Master Race.
Oh, really? So you had it quite a while?
Is it on here? No, it doesn't. Normally on Steam it tells you when you bought the game.
Yeah.
Right, but yeah, I've had it for ages. Been wanting to start it. I did actually start on number 1, but that game is quite dated now.
Yeah, I've heard that. It doesn't
3 hours, and sort of. Yeah, it was a bit too dated. It's a big game. It's you got to put about 40 hours into that. Yeah. And I thought, I'll be doing this. So I skipped straight to number 2. Which was it is a brilliant game. It is, if you give it the light of day, it is a real good game. But yeah, going into it before Witcher 3, it's a AAA game. It's a brilliant RPG. There's loads of lore, loads of things to do, side quests. I binned all that off, steam through it. got
through the powerhouse. But you're saying that in The Witcher 3, they've kind of cleaned it up and refined it even more.
Yeah, with number 3, in every little implement they have absolutely upgraded it with the combat, the story, like you say, all the UI and all the lore and all the menu systems. Everything has been upgraded. Yeah,
no, that's good. I mean, it's always good to see progression on it. Just before we close down this particular talk for The Witcher, are there any negatives that you've come across in the game that you don't like? Anything that you're getting a bit pissed off with, or you think, that's a bit shite?
Too much of a beast to run on my poor little system. It is an absolute beast on PC.
Tank, isn't it?
Like I say, on my game, the games of last year, up until sort of Mortal Kombat this year, I've been able to run at max settings. This comes out and absolutely destroys me. Now I've got to buy an upgrade.
Yeah,
it's an absolute beast. But no, that's not a bad thing, is it? Really?
No, that's how it looks. The only thing I'd say that's bothering me at the moment is I've got it on a hard difficulty, so I die a lot, and I don't like the checkpoint and autosaves. It kind of makes you do pointless stuff again. Like it'll cut in, say something happen, and it'll cut in with a cutscene, which will take 5 minutes to get through.
Yeah,
and then it'll put you back into, say, a battle. You die then, and it'll take you back to the very beginning. And you have to do that whole dialogue scene, maybe the first battle, then the dialogue scene, then the second battle. I've lost countless minutes and about 30 minutes of exploring the other day because it doesn't auto-save intermittently. It's only if you're doing something quest-related it will save it. And I find that a bit of a botherance because if you're just going out exploring, you find a load of cool stuff, and then for whatever reason, say those drowners like knocked me off level 4. I weren't prepared for that. I got done over, and I lost 15 minutes, and I was like, for God's sake! Like in a game like this where you're constantly upgrading and finding interesting bits, and you're coming across interesting situations, I feel like it should checkpoint a little bit more so that you don't lose that experience that you've gained when going out.
No, definitely. I've been affected by that as well. Yeah, it is something that should happen more regular. The only other issue I've had, I don't know if maybe it's the style I'm playing or say something I'm not doing, but I'm finding that my weapons and armour are sort of being damaged easily. I'm having to repair them every 5 minutes.
No, mine's doing that as well. I don't think it's a style of player. I'm not too sure, but that's a bit of a ball ache, isn't it? Having to do that.
Yeah.
I've always been a bit on the fence about whether weapons should degrade. It used to happen in Fallout 3 a lot, and it used to drive me something chronic that did when your favourite gun would eventually die and you couldn't repair it. Thankfully in this it's reasonably easy to repair them. You just find a blacksmith, can't you, and they'll charge you 26 coin and then you'll get your armour done again. But I'm not always a fan of that, but I guess it's to keep you on your toes, to make sure you're preparing them for battle and whatnot. But it's not. I don't think it's the best system to have in place personally, but I know some people would like it to be that way. I mean, one of the best things is that Gerald's beard grows. Gerald's beard just grows naturally.
Absolutely. As a fellow beard grower, that is
a dream come true. Beard simulator.
It is absolute beard simulator 2015.
Speaking of simulators, this just come off The Witcher. You've been playing Car Mechanic Simulator.
Game of the year.
Why have you got this? How has this happened?
I was bored one day looking through Steam.
And it's dangerous, Steam.
It is very dangerous, yeah. It sort of came up and I thought, no, this can't be real. Apparently there's been previous years. I didn't even know there was a 2014. I don't know if there was a 13. But recently I bought a truck and I've been looking to sort of get into a bit of mechanics just so I can sort of do do a bit myself rather than getting absolute stung by the mechanics of local areas.
Local barons running riot.
That's right. So I saw this game and I thought, that sounds bloody marvellous. I'll give this a go. And I'll tell you what, it's an absolute dreamboat. Really.
So is it essentially like a puzzle? So how does it work? I've got no clue how this will work.
It's just literally, it's a car simulator. It's a car mechanic simulator. That is all it is.
Yeah.
It's running a sort of mechanic. You sort of having your day-to-day activities of, you have to take phone calls to get jobs in.
Yeah.
And then once you get the car, you have to. At the beginning, it lists what's wrong with the car.
Yeah,
and
sure.
then you have to go find that part in the car, replace it by going onto a computer and buying a new part, put it in, and then send it on its way.
And then you're away.
And that is the game in a nutshell. But you gain experience points.
Yeah.
For each car you do, and you can buy new tools. But the harder the game gets, it starts at first, like I say, it lists the problems of what's wrong with the car, and then the harder it gets, you have to start figuring it out for yourself. And
right.
The parts of the game, the car start rusting and stuff, so you can see which parts are down. But yeah, it's just managing your own your mechanics, and it really is. It's many people will find this game boring, but like I say, it's unbelievable how sort of extensive it is and how accurate the car parts are. I took off my wheel the other day and had a look in my engine as well, and some of the just point out just from playing the game, going, "Oh bloody hell, there's the camera."
Oh really?
It really is. You do learn quite a bit. Obviously, it's piss easy compared to opening your bonnet.
Getting oil splattered over your face. It's never quite the same, is it? Get VR for that. Will you be buying Car Simulator 2016, providing that comes out?
Probably.
They've got you hooked.
They've got me by the game. If I still have this interest in cars, if I haven't been annoyed by my own and still have the interest, then I might. But at 21 gaming, I don't think it would hook anyone in for more than a week, 2 weeks. It's not really a gamer's game. It's just someone who's interested in cars and plays a bit of gaming in the meantime.
Wow. Speaking of a gamer's game, it's the long-running franchise that is Mortal Kombat. It's got a big fan base. You know, it's well loved across the globe. Have you been a fan of this franchise? Yeah, Mr. Salmon, he's playing it. You've been playing with him. Have you been a fan of this franchise since day dot, or is it something you've got into as you've got a bit older? How's your history with Mortal Kombat been?
I started right from the very beginning with Mortal Kombat 1. I'm trying to think what the first console I ever had it on. It was on like the Master System, or maybe before then. Well, that's right. Yeah, and I started with that. Went on to 2 and 3. I think I had 3 on the Mega Drive. I think. Yeah. I think I went on to 4 on the N64. Yeah. And then sort of binned it off after that. It sort of
had a little break.
Sort of got a bit bored. Yeah, they started bringing out Billions, and then there was like some Sub-Zero game. It was just like a sort of side-scrolling game, I think, or some sort of weird thing. But and then I went back to it with MK9, which was like a sort of reboot of the franchise, and that drew me straight back in. That was absolutely fantastic, that game. As for beat 'em up, so I'm quite a big beat 'em up fan. I play a lot of Street Fighter, Tekken on PlayStation.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you, how does this stack up against other beat 'em ups that are out there? I think it's probably one of the best. I think. I prefer it to Street Fighter. Yeah. I love the gore, the style of it. The characters, I think they're a lot cooler. But yeah, I think it's better than Tekken, and I think it's better than Street Fighter. It gets played competitively loads. It looks, there's some unbelievable people playing it. Yeah. If you ever watch any of the little tournaments, but yeah, the online modes are brilliant as well. Playing online, they have like a mode called King of the Hill, which is sort of a winner stays on. That's like an old arcades type. Like you always get that people telling the stories that they used to go to the arcades and play Street Fighter. There'd be like one person with like one eye and one tooth who hasn't got a job. He plays it all day, and everyone goes up and tries to beat him. So maybe it's a throwback to that.
Right, yeah. No, I really do think it's the best beat 'em up out there.
Cool.
But no, big fan.
What about the old DLC, pre-order, Goro, and microtransaction controversy because it had a fair bit of shit attached to it.
That's true. Yeah, it was a bit of a terrible PC stuff. I bought on the PC. Benefit thing. I think I paid £12 for it on PC. I think.
Fucking hell.
Ridiculous. Like it was out the same day on PlayStation 4 for about £40.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an absolute stinker. What they tried to do on the PC was install a sort of preload of so many gig, and then stream the rest of the game while you're playing.
That went wrong.
Absolute tits up, and the game. What they done for me was put the game into about 28 different bits of DLC or something.
Jesus.
Ridiculous. And then so you downloaded the full game, and then there was parts missing, and then there's some controversy on the PC where the game plays at 60 frames per second, and
Dave mentioned this, and then the X-rays go down to 30, and the finishes.
Really does sort of it changes the dynamic, and it's not great. But yeah, I was a big gripe with the microtransactions, things like that. You get these easy fatalities. I don't want none of that. That's ridiculous.
Well, do you ever think that it's not an advantage to have the fatalities, because once you get to that stage, they've already won.
That's it. Yeah.
Do you ever think, well, it's up to them if they want to buy it and spend the money? It's not something you would personalise on, but if they can skim off some extra money on top of the game, you kind of think, why would the publishers not do that?
No, that's true. Yeah, I can see their side of it for that thing. The bigger gripe was I saw on their DLC page that what you do when each time you fight, you gain points, and you can spend them in a crypt. They call
that's it. The crypt. It's like a first person, kind of like not a separate mini game, isn't it? You go through and unlock different bits and bobs.
That's right. So that's the enjoyment of the game, is playing it as much as you can, trying to gain these points to unlock finishes and fatalities and costumes. But there's an option you can pay, I think it's about £15, just unlock everything.
Right. So it renders that useless if you're going to do that.
That's just that's a milking the cow. That is a cash cow. I'm not a fan of that. But that I didn't like that part.
So did they? You have to gain coins through fighting and whatnot. Is it a bit of a grind to try and get these points? Do you think they've made them a little bit harder than they should be, so that people might think, oh fuck it, I'll buy the £15 and unlock all this shit?
I don't think so, because of the amount of modes they have. I mean, you can do your single fights where you gain it. They have 3 or 4 different tower modes where you sort of like the old sort of style where you sort of go through each character and then you have a boss, get the story at the end. So they've got 3 or 4 of them. You've got the online modes where you're gaining points, and you also have a whole story mode where you go and you're gaining points through that. Okay. So I think there's enough there that you should be able to play through and earn your points rather than spending that money.
Yeah. Well, you've only spent a fraction on it. Maybe you should have just bought the crypt as well. Then you've paid for the full game and had it done.
That's it.
That's the tactic.
I've only put 9 hours into it so far.
Yeah. But you're enjoying it, and that'll probably continue to be played for a little while out there, because it's one of those things you can just dip in and out of, can't you? Have a couple
that's of fights, that's what I love about the game. Yeah, like I say, I've been playing Witcher 3 and you sort of get engrossed in the story and stuff. You just want to mellow out. You think, I'll stick on the Mortal Kombat and have a little fight for 5 minutes.
Get an easy fatality and get out of there.
I can see why the developers do it though, because like there's people that'll buy it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if it's not, it's optional. So if people spend £1 on it, if 1,000 people do it, it's a no-brainer. Sometimes it just gives them that horrible feeling, doesn't it? And going back to say The Witcher, they're giving away quite a bit of their opening like crap bits of DLC, which essentially are bits of shit like hairstyles and armor and stuff and new costumes for free. And a lot of places you have to buy that for $5, $10, $15 or pounds or whatever it is. Said dollars again, unbelievable. Need to pack that in. I'm going to get absolutely slaughtered by the boys. Let's look ahead to some games that are coming out before I balls it up again with the bloody pounds and dollars. Assassin's Creed Syndicate. So I've played every Assassin's Creed main game apart from Rogue, because it was it was on last gen only. I'd already upgraded, got Unity. Absolute disgrace. Are you the same as me? Have you played all the Assassin's Creeds?
I have indeed. Yep, I have. Started on the 360 and went through them all. Switched over to the PC versions on Black Flag, which I loved. I thought it was a brilliant game.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a brilliant game.
Is that your favourite of the series?
No, 2 was.
To everyone.
Everyone says that. Don't know if I never played it. Loved it. No. Yeah, no, 2 was brilliant. And then Black Flag for me, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, then Unity came out, and don't even get me started on PC.
No.
Terrible.
Was it worse on PC then? Did you find?
Yeah, terrible game on PC. Yeah, I think even now there's been about 5 or 6 patches, and in certain areas I still only get, on like the lowest settings I still only get about 12 FPS.
Fucking hell, that's so bad, isn't it? It's so bad.
And like I didn't pay full price. I paid PC price. I paid about 20 quid, I think. But
I was still though, it's the principle, isn't it? You expect to better run the game.
That's right. I think even they have been bad on PC. I think the ports, like I say, I only switched over on Black Flag, and that did run a bit crap. I think it's just Ubisoft PC games in general, to be honest. But
yeah, they seem got their head in consoles, haven't they? They clearly.
I moan every time after read a game, and then the new sort of reveal comes out, which like I moan my head off about Unity, and I see this reveal of Assassin's Creed Syndicate. I think, hello.
So what did you make of it then? Because it's set in the grimy streets of Landan, as we would say. Well, no one says that really. Well, a couple of people do. I've heard on the train. I was like, Jesus Christ! But what's your thoughts on this? Because they revealed this, and what I found strange is the gameplay footage they revealed said it was pre-alpha. You know, the game's 6 months away, boys. What are you showing pre-alpha for? It's got to be further on down the line than that. But
notes as well from that reveal that they didn't give a release date for the PC, so it looks like they've given extra attention for that.
Well, I think they need to after that embarrassment that was Unity. Way you've described it. So I've basically I've washed my hands of Assassin's Creed. I've washed my hands of ever pre-ordering an Assassin's Creed game. I've washed my hands of pre-ordering in general, but in particular, I would never get an Assassin's Creed game unless there's now a few reviews out there seeing if it's broken or not.
No, that's right. That was a big gripe of mine with Unity was the embargo they have. They didn't release the reviews, did they, until after it released?
Yeah, it's bollocks, isn't it? That is a sign of the developer. It's probably the publisher. It's probably not the development team, but the publishers know that the game isn't what it is. And you've only got to look at a game like The Witcher 3, where they came out a week in advance, a week before we was getting the reviews and the hype was building, and they were all pretty much positive across the board, and that's helped ship probably more games than it has. Indeed. Syndicate, is it going to be the revitalisation that the Assassin's Creed franchise needs? I'm sick of the yearly releases. And I've got a horrible taste in my mouth from Unity, but can this do it? I'm not so convinced myself.
No, it looks a bit of an Assassin's Creed Unity 2.5. I love the setting. I like the idea. I like the Victorian. I've always thought they should do a Victorian setting.
Same here.
The characters look okay. I don't think you're going to warm to them as big as you would Ezio, things like that.
Ezio's daddy, wasn't he?
But yeah, I mean, the grapple hook, it's been done in other games.
That's what I was thinking. It seems like they've got all these new introductions of gameplay mechanics. Like, look at this new feature. And I was like, but I've been doing that in Batman. And Batman works. Batman's a quality game. It's already been done.
They've been taking. They look like they've taken the combat from that with the sort of free-flowing combat as well.
Yeah, which is not a bad thing. The combat's great in Batman, but it's kind of a bit of a slap in the face. What I found strange about the reveal was how they spent a good 45 seconds going, look, you can now jump in a horse and carriage and ride around the streets of London. And I was like, great, I can now roll around at 5 miles per hour when I could actually just be free running across rooftops, hanging off shit, doing some cool jumps. No, you want me to go into a horse and carriage and ride around London? What are you doing?
Yes, a bit of a had that with Saints Row 4, where you could sort of they just made that game where you had the superpowers and you could jump. It just made cars redundant.
Yeah. Well, they're treating it like it's a fucking selling point.
No, they really are. No, I don't get that. But no, it's like you say, it's left a big sour taste in the mouth for Unity, and like I say, it does look like like a
2.5.
add-on, 2.5. So I don't know.
If they release this and they said, right, that's done now, we're going to give it 2 years, do you think they'll benefit from that?
I think they would. Yeah, I think they'd give them more time to.
Do you think financially they'll benefit from that because they'll miss it seems to sell well. I'm sure we would as gamers would benefit from that because we'd get a much better game. But I don't think, looking at figures wise, they think, well, we're going to miss a huge chunk of sales around that period of time. And I can see why they do it, because for whatever reason the game sells. I'm hoping that Unity stung them a little bit and people are going to be a lot more cautious. But
that's right. Yeah, I mean, they're bringing out all them these little. There's a China thing. Is it like a little sort of side-scrolling game? Chronicles, is it? Yeah, that's it. Assassin's Creed Chronicles. Yeah, they've got their hand in mobile games. That was one thing I did like, that they're bidding off the companion app on the new one.
What a piece of crap that was.
Yeah, I hated that on Unity.
The thing was, there was chess in the game that you couldn't unlock unless you went on the app, and I was like, what are you doing here? I don't want that. What if you ain't got a smartphone? You should have a smartphone, but what if you haven't? You wouldn't have to ever open them chests. It's I'm not, Syndicate, I think, is going to be a struggle. It's going to be a hard sell for me to get that. Definitely won't be getting it at full price. No. If there's a gap next year, we've had a bit of a gap between The Witcher coming out and say something like Bloodborne, which I didn't play, so I filled it in with older games. Maybe that'll be a filler game. Maybe I'll go back and play it then. But other than that, I'm steering clear of it. If the reviews come out and it's still broken, then that is the disgrace, really. They need to at least have it working. If the game's not interesting, fine, but at least get the bloody thing working and running properly. Just quickly, we've got a few more to reel off before we shut down here. Batman, that's coming out June. You're a big fan of it. I'm a big fan of the series.
Yeah.
It's going to be good, isn't it?
Rocksteady Studios. I think they're saying it's their final one, aren't they? I don't know if the success of it. I think they'll see the cash coming in and think, maybe we can do another one. Bit of a...
You'd think so. But the thing is, the developer, because I know that Origins wasn't developed by Rocksteady, and that was more that Warner Brothers wanted another Batman game out there, so they lent them the assets. And by the sounds of things, it was a bit of a, it was a bit glitchy.
Didn't run very well, but I'm very hard. There was a bit of gripe with the old Batmobile. It's cool having the Batmobile in there, but the fact that you can blow things up and kill people, that seems a bit non-Batman.
do you know what I really wanted them to do for this one? I think I've said this before. When you see Batman the film, or you read the comics, or you watch the cartoon, Batman's wandering around in the city of Gotham. It's alive. People are wandering around. And what I wanted them to do is not have this situation where Gotham's sealed off and it's been taken over by the scum. I want it to be like, not like Grand Theft Auto, like San Andreas, but a living world where normal people are there, and you're just in the towers moving around and fighting crime that way. And there might be like a spontaneous woman getting attacked by some scum. You can go and take them down, stuff like that happening. Whereas you don't get that dynamic, because this is pretty much 90%, it looks like, is already sort of overrun by scumbags. You're only ever going to bump into baddies, and you don't get that sort of same connect as what you get with the TV show and the films and whatnot. That's what I was hoping for. It's not there, but I still think
it's a very good idea. I think you should put that to Rocksteady.
I will. They'll probably just ban me off. Is it one you're going to be getting? I assume it's going to get a thumbs up.
That is one. I did. I think. Did you send me a link to somewhere where it was about £16 with the DLC?
Yes, I did send you that, yeah.
Absolutely. I think that is one I will pre-order, because I know I'll enjoy it. It looks good. It looks like it's more of the same. If it's not broken, don't fix it. And Rocksteady
got some pedigree, so it should deliver. You can kind of trust those ones, so I can see exactly why people would want to pre-order that particular game. Metal Gear Solid 5. Both big fans.
Huge,
Phantom Pain coming.
We've
also got Ground Zeroes coming to PlayStation Plus in June for free. So
see that? Yeah, bought that. Brilliant. Go on.
Yeah, bought that bit. But the main game, it looks brilliant. It looked brilliant. I'm slightly worried about this Kojima business. I know it's sort of blown over now, but he's gone after this. This is his swan song, and I'm just worried that something is wrong with the game that he was pushing for and didn't want in, and that Konami want this in, some sort of paid bullshit. I don't know. I'm guessing, but I'm hoping that the game comes out and it's still 100% his vision, because that's why they thrive so well and why they resonate with people, because he pretty much runs the show and it's always been his vision. This has got to be good, isn't it? It's got to be.
It has to be. He says it every time. It's going to be his final game, but. With all this coming out, it does sound like it could very well be his final game.
Not his choice, but it looks like it's going to be. And the Phantom Pain is going to be the final bit.
What are Konami doing? What are they doing?
They're having a stinker, aren't they? They're having an absolute nightmare. Would you buy Here's a question: would you buy the next Metal Gear Solid 6, The Pain? It's just called. Would you buy that, knowing that Kojima wasn't involved with this, and it was a Konami produced and developed sort of project? Would that still have the same sort of hype that you've got for this particular title?
I'd buy it, being a massive fanboy of the Metal Gear. Like I know he wasn't, he was involved, but with the Rising, I really loved the Rising Revengeance game. So I would buy it on that, but it wouldn't have the same interest as the main games and the Kojima based.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I would still buy it just because I'm so much of a fan.
Yeah.
But I hadn't even heard that had been announced. Is that a thing then?
No, I made that up. I made The Pain up. they released a press conference saying that they'll continue the franchise, whether that'll be in mobile or whatever. They've come out and said no, we're still looking at consoles, blah blah blah. But you'd see, if this does really well, they're thinking, well, we'll probably get at least 2/3 of those people back without Kojima, regardless of what it is, because it's just got the stamp of Metal Gear Solid on it, and people want more of it. Here's a quick question for you that's going to affect you regarding Metal Gear Solid 5. Release date, I believe it comes out 2 weeks later on the PC.
Does indeed, which is blower.
So yeah, what are you going to do? Are you going to get it on PS4? Are you going to hold and wait for the PC version to come out, or are you going to crumble and go, look, I need to play this now?
I think I'm going to buy them both. Like I say, I bought the PS4 for this game.
Yeah.
For Zeroes. A month after I buy it, they both get release dates on PC. Yeah. But yeah, that is a bugger, that 2-week release date. And I wouldn't be able to wait, knowing that you've got it, and sitting there saying how good it is. So I think what I'll do is I'll buy it on PlayStation, and then might even just leave it and wait for it to go a bit cheap. I mean, it'll probably be cheaper on PC anyway, but wait for a month or two and see if I can pick it up for £15. It'll only be a graphical improvement anyway on the PC.
That's it, yeah, I guess so.
It's not going to be, because the Ground Zeroes ran at 60 FPS in 1080p, and the PC version there's literally only a tiny marginal bit of improvement in the graphics. That is the only difference. So
okay, so
I am a bit of a snob, but I'm not that much of a snob.
No, not going to bother you. Not going to bother you too much. I noticed that on the PS4 version they had like unique sky settings. I don't know if you ever saw the pictures that Kojima put out, because this was a Sony franchise, I guess they wanted to do something a little bit special, so they had unique sky setting for Ground Zeroes on there, which I thought was a bit strange. But that's probably all you're going to get in terms of exclusive content. If you're saying it's not much of a difference on PC, it's a no-brainer to get it and get involved with the hype train as it's kicking off on September the 1st, I believe. I have to double check that, but yeah, it's going to be.
One thing that I am thinking is I have more friends on PSN than I do Steam, and I like
Gear Online.
Gear Online, so that is a big thing.
That's a good point, actually. I completely forgot that was actually being added, so that is a very good point. You've got 3 friends on PSN. If you got,
I have you.
No, that's a good point actually. Yeah, because that does drive people to buy in particular games, doesn't it? Where your friends are. But
so I'm not a multiplayer competitive player, but that sort of game I could easily be turned.
Yeah, exactly. Last one, and then we'll close this thing down. No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
It looks good, but I don't know what the game is yet. Every time I see a trailer for it, I go, "This is brilliant." I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the details are. Are you a little bit concerned by the actual lack of sort of gameplay details in this? Because it looks like you're just sort of flying around, visiting these planets. It looks incredible how it just seamlessly goes into a planet's sort of gravitational pull, and you can land, explore it, go back up into the sky. It looks huge, but if it is just you exploring, can you see it perhaps not living up to the hype?
Yeah, it could be another Stranded Deep. I think there is a bit of information online of what you can actually do. I watched quite an extensive YouTube video. Yeah. There's a page called Open World Games. They've got a video on there. Try and check them out. Just have a little look on there. But yeah, I know it's a procedurally generated open universe. Yeah. So every game is going to be different from the next. Yeah. Like we won't have the same games. But you're right. They haven't sort of laid upon what the actual objective is yet. No. So it is a bit apprehensive of what it's going to be. But from the gameplay videos that I have seen, it does look interesting.
Yeah.
Something that I would definitely be interested in. I like the indie aspect of it as well. It doesn't look like a sort of AAA game.
No, exactly. That's a good point. It's always nice to support the indie developers. Although you've got to think now that Sony have really put their full force behind it. They've got to be funding that to a certain extent, you'd imagine. So does it even count as indie? That's what I'd question.
True, yeah.
But just quickly, we've got E3 in a few weeks' time. Are we going to get a release date for No Man's Sky at E3 2015?
I'm hoping so. Yeah, should they? They'd have to really. Did they? No, I haven't said.
No.
So far, have they? No, that should be it. Hopefully, with another gameplay. Hopefully, with a bit more information of what it's about. Like you say, there's many fans out there that are a bit sort of stumped at what the game's about. So, hopefully, we'll see more. And hopefully, we'll see Fallout 4 as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Bethesda have got their own press conference. So that's got to be a banker, hopefully. But it's about time we wrap this show up. Thanks for joining me this particular one. You guys at home, if you want to get in contact with us, you can tweet us, which is at Dimp Digital. You can post to us on Facebook, so like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Dimp Digital, or you can email us using our email address, which is dimpdigitalmedia@gmail.com. Get involved and get in contact, and do not forget about the YouTube channel. We've got content going up all the time. The Vanishing of Ethan Carter Let's Plays are alive and kicking now, so subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on any of that and any of our other future content on there. That's it for now. Game over. It's goodbye from Tom.
See ya.
And it's goodbye from me, Apps. Thanks for your time, and ta-da.
Sound alright?
Got some rustling. Oh, that's gone now.
Oh. Some shimmy shake. That sound better.
It's like a tiny background. It was like I don't know what it is. I don't think it wasn't there before.
Yeah. Getting louder.
That's going now. I don't know what the hell that was. Might be the wire being loose. Blowers.
Boom.
Full hour.
Like that. Cool. Bob on. What a ruddy, lovely chat.
That's good.
I died halfway through that.
Yeah, I was shitting my... I've done it about 4 times. I was absolutely gassing. Yeah.
Oh, absolute stinker.
Yeah, I don't know what I've eaten that's done that. Costing.